The little bell above the diner door jingled as the cold wind swept in. At a corner booth, an elderly man with silver hair and a neatly pressed jacket sat quietly, stirring his coffee. His hands were rough, scarred by time and service, and on his cap, embroidered in faded gold, were the words, U.S. Veteran. The waitress, a young woman with a tired smile, leaned down and said softly, "Your breakfast is on the house today, sir. Thank you for your service." The old man gave a small nod, his deep voice carrying the weight of years. "Appreciate that, miss. Not many remember anymore." But across the room, a group of loud young men laughed crudely. One of them, a burly figure with tattoos crawling up his neck, sneered as he noticed the veteran. "Look at this old man pretending like he's a hero," the bully muttered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Sitting there like he owns the place." The diner grew tense. The waitress froze, her hand gripping the coffee pot. A couple in the back whispered nervously. But the veteran simply sipped his coffee, ignoring the provocation. The bully wasn't satisfied. He swaggered over, towering above the seated man. "You think that little hat makes you special?" he growled. Without warning, his hand cracked across the veteran's face. Gasps erupted in the diner. The waitress dropped the coffee pot, shattering it on the floor. A little boy at a nearby booth began to cry. The veteran's head turned with a slap, but his eyes stayed calm, steady, unwavering. He didn't raise a hand in return. Instead, he set down his coffee cup carefully and looked up at the man. "Young man," he said evenly, "you don't know who you're dealing with." The bully laughed, mistaking composure for weakness. "What are you gonna do, old-timer? Call your army buddies? You're nothing but washed up." The veteran simply reached into his jacket, not for a weapon, but for his phone. His hands were steady as he dialed a single number. The diner was silent now, every soul watching. He placed the phone to his ear. "Son," he said calmly, his voice carrying through the quiet diner. "I'm at Miller's diner. There's been an incident." The bully smirked. "Who's he calling? His retirement home?" But then, within minutes, the wail of sirens filled the air outside. Black SUVs screeched to a halt, and men in suits with earpieces poured into the diner. The atmosphere flipped from fear to shock as the commanding officer stepped inside. "Dad," the man said urgently, rushing to the veteran's side. He was tall, authoritative, and wore the unmistakable air of power. He pulled his father gently to his feet, his eyes blazing as he turned toward the bully. The room seemed to shrink as the realization hit. The veteran's son was none other than the head of Homeland Security. The bully's bravado drained from his face. His hands shook. I didn't know," he stammered. The son's voice was cold steel. "You put your hands on a decorated veteran. On my father. Do you have any idea what that means?" The bully's knees buckled as agents closed in, cuffing him on the spot. Patrons of the diner cheered quietly, relief flooding the room. The little boy who had been crying now watched wide-eyed as the veteran's son wrapped a protective arm around his father. The old man adjusted his cap and gave a small, knowing smile. For once, he wasn't the one protecting others. Someone else was standing up for him.